So one thing missing in math education around the world, I think, is people not recognizing the math is like a mountain that they're trying to climb, or it's like a building that needs a solid foundation. You need a solid foundation before you move to the next step. For every concept you learn, you need to know exactly, well, first you need to ask yourself the question, what are the prerequisites necessary to better understand the current topic I'm working on? And then when you finish that topic and you go to a new topic, that question needs to be asked again. What are the prerequisites for this topic that I'm learning? Because if you're missing any of the prerequisites, it's going to be a frustrating journey. Here are a few quick examples, and then I'll tell you one more thing that is missing in math education today. A student wants to learn how to add fractions of unlike denominators. What that means is that the denominator, which is the number on the bottom, is not the same for the two fractions that are adding. So 1/2 plus 1/3. See, they don't have the same denominator. In order to do this topic, it is very useful to know your multiplication facts or where to find them. I highly discourage using calculators if you've not yet gotten to algebra. If you're still doing pre-algebra and arithmetic, I would love for you to do as much as possible by hand, okay? Or mental math. So 1/2 plus 1/3. I need to look at what is the common denominator. I need to get a common denominator. In order to do that, I need to understand how to multiply numbers. I need to understand some things with prime factorization or prime numbers in this case, because 2 and 3 are actually prime, so my lowest common multiple will be pretty easy. Okay, we'll have more technical discussions on pedagogy and strategies for math. The point I'm trying to make here is the student trying to add fractions of unlike denominators is going to realize that they need knowledge from something else. They need to go to that place, strengthen their knowledge base from there, and then bring that over. Bring that over to the thing they're working on now. And not only should we be helping students look in the past or look in the future, look in the past, but we should be helping them think about how to make connections later on. See, math is like a fabric with all these pieces that come together in a nice tapestry, especially when you get to calculus. This is one of the reasons why I want every student to do calculus. I have a workbook here which follows the OpenStax textbook. It's a workbook that just provides you with a place to show your work for every single topic in the calculus textbook. But at the end of the workbook, I give you tools for mastering mathematics, which I put together about 10 years ago and that are still applicable. The addition tables, multiplication table, and all of that. And then in the beginning of the workbook, I tell you a little bit about the person who came up with the calculus, one of the people, which leads me to the other thing that is missing in math instruction today. Assuming your students have a solid curriculum, assuming your students understand the importance of their prerequisites and what they need before they move on to the next topic, which by the way with AI would make this whole process much easier. Imagine if your child puts in a prompt, I'm about to learn how to add fractions in school. What do I need to know before I go to class tomorrow? And then the AI can guide them through the prerequisites. How cool is that? This is stuff they can do right now. Like, knowledge acquisition has never been easier in terms of at least just getting the knowledge or getting the information. Now, processing the information, making sense of it, making connections, this is part of what the teacher needs to do. The role of a teacher has changed. It cannot be focused on just giving knowledge. No, it needs to involve mentoring, nurturing the love for learning, guiding students to give their best, helping students to figure out what they want to do with their lives. No student should graduate 12th grade without knowing what they want to do with their life anymore, because they can explore all the different career options throughout their time in the earlier years. I think that, job shadowing, having guest speakers and mentors and students asking questions. I have a career assessment that I'm working on that will become like an app where people will type in their interests and passions, and then it will tell them, here are some things you should consider. And then if they want to connect to those people, they can go through our program where we have mentors that we connect them to. They want to be a pediatrician. Okay, we know a pediatrician. We'll get a Zoom call going and have them have a conversation about it. Do you want to work with kids? Do you want to learn more about anatomy and physiology? Let's help kids figure that out. Okay, that was bonus. Here's the second thing that students need. If I gave you these flashcards, which we put together, and we're putting together more and more of these over time, But we give you these flashcards. This is Gutenberg, this is Kepler, this is Faraday, this is Maxwell, this is Newton, this is Leibniz, this is Descartes. If I gave you these flashcards and I told you, can you create a story for me? Or can you explain how all these people are connected, right? Well, we know Gutenberg gave us, he did the work with the printing press. Again, this is the second thing missing in education, is that our students are not seeing the context that gave rise to the knowledge with which they work in. So I'm going to arrange these in order, okay? So I'm going to put this in order, and now I'm going to tell you a story. So I have put it in order, starting with Johannes Gutenberg. So here we go. Johannes Gutenberg gave us the printing press. Because of the work he did, it laid the groundwork for what was to come, no matter what that was. So, for example, when Copernicus did his work, and he has a flashcard too, when Copernicus did his work, some of that publishing effect is much more, it goes much further, right? And this was around the same time, by the way, that Martin Luther did his work. So the printing press, Martin Luther's Reformation and 95 Theses, and Copernicus' work all happened within 100 years. Isn't that interesting? And then we have René Descartes. René Descartes was a French mathematician who is famous for the Cartesian plane. He was a philosopher. He was, interesting. A lot of these people, you notice they had multiple hats they wore. So you have the printing press, and then you have René Descartes. René Descartes' work laid the groundwork for certain aspects of analytical geometry, which would then help people like Isaac Newton and then Albert Einstein. Okay, so that's where René Descartes comes in. He dies at the age of 54. He used to tutor the Queen of Sweden, and he died from pneumonia. He used to go at like 5 a.m. or something to tutor. That's just too early. I love math, but I think 5 a.m. you should be reading your Bible, not going to do math. But anyways, that's another day story. René Descartes did give us he made a huge impact in mathematics. Johannes Kepler, a little different domain, but still very influential in this. What I mean a little different domain is we think of him as an astronomer and a physicist, but he was a math pro as well. And so Kepler gave us the planetary laws, did a lot of good work. And it is because of people like Kepler that Sir Isaac Newton says that if I have seen further, it's because I stood on the shoulders of giants. Who are these giants? It's people like Kepler. It's people like Galileo. It's people like Copernicus. And they all have flashcards coming in this series. They all have flashcards. I'm just picking out a few today. So Newton comes and he gives us the calculus, right? Newton does work that gives rise to calculus. But he's not the only one. Wilhelm Gottfried Leibniz. Leibniz, right? Leibniz is influential. These are the people that we say are like the co-founders of the calculus. There's a lot of stories about this. There's a book by Dr. David Belinsky called The Tour of the Calculus. You can read a lot more about the history of calculus. We'll talk about this more in our math history series. Again, students need to see connections. Leibniz was a great mathematician of his own right. We'll talk about him later on. And then, so now, here's the thing. I will say, these guys are like my favorite in the story, but Faraday was not influenced in the mathematical side of things by these guys as much, in the sense that he was more of an experimental physicist. But then he met James Clerk Maxwell, who took his work and put it to mathematical language, right? These people are big in the field of electromagnetism. The reason why you can enjoy the Wi-Fi you have or the electricity that you have is partly because of these people. Maxwell is called the father of electrical engineering. Faraday is called the father of electromagnetism. I mean, these guys did phenomenal work. Maxwell did his work at Cambridge, which is the same place that Newton was when he did his work as well, right? Let's build this idea of connections for our students, showing them how the different scientists were involved and interacted, and how one person's work influenced the other person's work, and then maybe our students, maybe their work might become the next frontier. What do you think about that? Imagine if you inspire your students to realize that they might just be the ones who have the solution for the next frontier in whatever they're trying to do. That's the approach I want to encourage teachers to use. This is part of what's missing in education today. We need to see students changing their attitude to learning. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. But that's our math history and math strategy lesson for the day. I look forward to doing more in this series, which is seeking to inspire the next generation of scientists, mathematicians, and thinkers who also know the history and philosophy of science, logic, and theology. Visit amosmathguy.com and put in your information if you want to get in touch with us for tutoring or for seeing the work we're doing at Counting to Calculus. We want to grow, want to help as many students as possible as we launch our applications in the Counting to Calculus space. Take care and have a blessed day.